Namaskar, Adab, Sat Shri Akal. A very warm welcome, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying healthy. You're staying safe. And जैसे कि अभी आपने देखा, the beginning was a little different than a regular one, simply because it's one of the things, एक ऐसा element जो पिछले 2 साल से हम सबके ऊपर बहुत हावी हुआ है. This one is really creating a lot of, has created a lot of issues, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of pain. Uh, and जब हम सोचने लगते हैं कि maybe the worst has gone, there's a new thing that will pop up, and we feel we are like back to square one. Uh, and it does just not have the medical, yeah, एक वो कहते हैं ना, impact only. It has a lot of other impacts, socio-economic, economical सबसे बड़ा. We've seen in the last 2 years how many people have really felt the heat, felt the pain due to COVID, not because of the medical aspect, but also because of how the businesses have had to kind of relook everything. सब कुछ बदल गया है सबका. Schools, colleges, education system, any industry, you name it, every single industry has been kind of impacted with this monster. And looking at how things have been, the one common factor that I see all across, even though we've changed years, but still one common factor has been stress. Stress for getting out of this situation, stress for making sure our family members, our surroundings are safe. So आज उसी से related बात करेंगे. Now before I get the guests on, एक बार फिर से, even though this is the first for the new year, so I'm going to start off with the same wish, that a very happy new year to all of you, and may 2022 at least bring in a little bit more peace, a little bit more sanity, a little bit more relaxation to all of us. Because last के 2 सालों से, especially I would say 2019 से, जब से ये कोविड का onset हुआ है, I haven't seen many people have that kind of relaxed mindset for a very long time. थोड़ी देर के लिए अगर कोई सोचने भी लगता है, something will happen. So thanks to both the special guests who have really taken this, on them, I would say, Vibhuti ji and as well as Krishna ji, for the last 4 sessions that we've had. A lot of positivity, a lot of sanity has been instilled. People really feel connected. People really feel that, yes, there is certain things that we really need to do. In addition to the regular monotonous life जो हमारी चल रही है, चाहे उसके लिए हमें अपने आप को एक कमरे में बंद करना पड़े, या एक ऐप के साथ बैठना पड़े, या whatever we have to do, we have to get some kind of sanity back. So these two men have definitely helped us in many ways. So I'll welcome them on this screen, as well as would love to wish both of them a very happy new year before we start this session. So namaskar and welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. And Happy New Year to you and to all your viewers from both of us, from the Relaxx group, and sincerely praying and hoping that, as you rightly said, Varun, that 2022 is definitely better than 2021.
Yeah.
If not, if not hugely better, let it be better. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Krishna ji, आपको भी बहुत बहुत I'm sure you being in this medical field, and जैसे अभी मैं दिखा रहा था, not only because of COVID but otherwise as well, there are a lot of things that have been happening in the last 2 years. वैसे ही life इतनी stressful होती है, but at the same time last 2 years I think have added, जैसे some people joke about it, that can we just get rid of, like पहले कहते थे 1 साल के लिए, but now they say can we get rid of these 2 years, because these 2 years have literally, लोगों को 10 साल आगे बूढ़ा कर दिया है. Somehow things have changed for them so bad that they really don't want to even talk about 2019 and 2020 at all. And looking at how 2021 has been, we are just hoping and praying that 2022 is really way better than all these years in the last, like, what we've witnessed. So Really looking forward to our conversation, as well as what would be your insights and inputs around all this stress that we have instilled on ourselves in the last couple of years.
No, thank you, Varun. It's really wonderful to be with you and Vibhuti ji. Of course, Vibhuti ji was the instrumental person who started this show with you, talking to you. So thank you, Vibhuti ji, and I think people are appreciating that by number of views. But it's interesting. This is our fifth show, and it's just five number. Excites me. So fifth show, we have five tips for stress relief today. Five tips. Krishna's five pillars of success, and in our Relaxx app, we say we have five pillars, which is SWIMM. So it's five is a good number for today to
Perfect.
start with.
Great. What a yeah. I mean, see, that's why I'm always intrigued by the level of intelligence, the smartness that you both bring into this show. Okay, you can connect everything, like how beautifully you've kind of woven a story now, and I'm really looking forward to listen to all the things that you're going to talk about. But yes, these five elements, the five elements of or the tips that you've highlighted. The reason I think I'm more interested in talking about this topic myself is having gone through certain things in the last 1.5 2 weeks myself. I think most of it, agar मैं इसको realize करूं, I could have handled the whole situation in multiple ways. One is, अगर मैं इसको stress की तरह लेता इसको और भी ज़्यादा, I might have ended bad. I might have ended in a hospital. I might have ended in like a very, very bad situation. But then, recollecting some of the things that we've talked about, some of the things that I've talked about with my doctor, and some of the things that I've talked with my family, I think I chose the other way. That what worse can happen? I mean, it's just it's just COVID. It's just a virus, and I am still, like Vibhuti ji mentioned in I think the second show or somewhere around that. अभी मैं इतना भी बूढ़ा नहीं हुआ. I still have a lot of stamina,
So
and
long as we are around, you will never grow old. Let's be happy about that.
right, right. So that's why I chose the other way. That let's just fight it out. I mean, what the hell? I mean, we can relax, and I think that's how I also conquered this virus, was just by relaxing. I didn't get any kind of special medicines or medication around this thing. I did not get any kind of special, hospital treatment. All I did was relax, calm down myself, breathe normally, nicely, and I think, and then that's what a lot of my family members also did the same thing, and we've come out, almost there. I would say I still don't want to jinx it, but we're almost out of it, just because of relaxing, calming us down, calming our breath, breathing rate, our thought processes. I think sometimes it's as simple as that. What do you say? I mean, is it really that simple, or is there a science behind that as well? क्या
If
कहना
I
चाहिए?
may, I will take a start here, Krishnaji,
Sure.
and I wanted to tell you, Varun, that both Krishnaji and I talked about it, that you deserve a congratulation and a big applause. And I'll tell you why. Because at the end of the fourth session, when we were talking about downloads and experience the app, you made a confession. And you made a confession that despite having the code, I have not downloaded, I have done nothing. We both laughed that Varun lost 3 weeks of energy. but but what was important was that you have no idea that how being honest with yourself releases the stress so dramatically.
Yeah.
That helps a lot because you didn't have to lie. You need not have said that. But the very fact that you mentioned it, it was a lid of the pressure cooker deep down in your psyche somewhere कि आज हमने सच बोल दिया, confession कर लिया, हम करेंगे. That's enough. People do not realize that it is these tiny steps that we talk about all the time. There is, if you look at the 5 steps that we talked about, the stress part, they are very simple thing. But within those simplicities is a good rahasya छुपा हुआ है उसमें. That is the important part to realize. is like, it is those simple things that you do transforms you, brings about. That's why the concept of baby steps is so important. So I want to congratulate you, Varun, for doing that, and I hope at the end of this show you will start experiencing the true relax. By experiencing relax, if you are feeling relaxed that way by listening to us,
Yeah.
I can tell you it will quadruple the moment you begin to practice some of the messages that are there. Section wise, stress relief is one of them. But important part is why there has been so much stress on account of COVID is the fear factor. Fear produces the maximum amount of stress in us. Fear of the unknown. What will happen? I don't know. What will I do? And to which I said to you that you applied that process. What is the worst that is going to happen? So once you have imagined the worst that is going to happen, you 99% of the time, I remember mentioning this to the audience in one of the programs, that if you ever have seriously looked at it, you realize that whatever the worst that you thought actually never happens.
Yeah.
So it is very important to deal with that fear factor. And coronavirus did induce significant fear because you did not know where it is going to come from, who is going to give it, and then it really destroyed everything around us. That's why we had to go into seclusion, we had to isolate ourselves, we had to be wearing a mask going everywhere, wash your hands. So there were certain rituals introduced which introduced fear in us, and I'm glad you dealt with that so well. So let's talk about the stress factor that we shared on the tweet today and we shared with the audience, each step of them. So Krishnaji, you take the first step as you wish to go about it.
So, I mean, as far as the stress factor is concerned, I always believe that you need some stress in life to, move ahead. Because a typical example is if you get a fracture and you get a plaster, in 2 months, the bone and the muscles and everything, kind of uh, are not the same. So you have to build your muscle and strength and all that. So this is some stress, either physical or emotional or mental, is really good for going forward and facing challenges. However, um, the stress we are talking about is causing a toll or taking a toll on our system. I was talking to one of the psychiatrists, and she says, like in Maine, there is cold and there is seasonal affective disorder that happens. But add to that isolation. That isolation, apart from the fear, has become a big factor as well. And both JAMA came out with a report and New York Times came out. They did different way of research. JAMA went and did a cumulative research from meta-analysis of research papers since March of last year. And New York Times surveyed like 1,300 plus mental health providers. And basically, they came to the same conclusion that pre-COVID and post-COVID, the anxiety and depression have doubled in young people. And one of the interesting thing that I found is it's not so much that the problems are different. The problems are not different, but the same problems are manifesting differently. Because I think the coping ability, I think there is a slow drain over time. I mean, it's just same thing going on and on. And I mean, Wuhan adds this Wuhan virus or COVID adds a stress. I mean, recently we had our family flying over to Maine, and this whole Omicron thing came, and then there was question of whether an unvaccinated child should travel. So then last minute we canceled all the flights. We changed our flights and we went to our kids. So all these ads, you have to take your phone and cancel the flight, and this is not one example. I think hundreds of people are facing this thing every day. So there is challenges, and I think there is good that we are talking about how to cope with it, because that's the main thing. The stress will be there. I mean, the stress kind of warms or stress in the air is going to be there and probably it's going to continue. So it's good that we have a very good topic that we're going to talk, at least 5 tips that we have come up with. It is a good start. The first one, as we said, is take a break. And it's always, I mean, yes, we are go culture, we are very energetic, we keep doing things, but take a breather, take a break, from everything you are doing. And it's not, take a break doesn't mean you take a break for a whole week. And sometimes it's not bad to take a whole week. Go on a vacation or just to stay and be cool. That take a break is a big thing in our life, because if you are doing the same thing all the time, it may become boring, it may become strenuous, but somehow you change your what you are doing. Somehow it changes the energy focus and whole thing. Like um, you are working and you come home and then you go and play tennis. Tennis is still work and maybe more work, physical work, but it relieves your stress by changing the scenario, by changing the scene, changing what you're doing. It helps a lot. So take a break doesn't mean do nothing always. So that's the first one. Vibhutiji, you can take the second one.
Now, we will take it one by one, of course. Thank you very much. The other part, which is very important, and is the anxiety. Sonali ji has mentioned about the word anxiety. I am suffering from anxiety right now as I speak with you. The reason is very simple. I'm double vaccinated, including boosted, including the booster shot. Yet I'm not sure whether I will get the Omicron or not. And now that creates an anxiety in me. Is that it, where do you go? Who do you meet? And the symptoms are very remarkably simple. It's a sore throat, cold, and you get tested. So people are going to go rapid tests and all. And this is a winter season. So people having a cough and a cold is so very normal. Now, but how do I deal with that? Is a classic thing that anxiety will come about. That despite everything else, you know, your anxiety burst has to be handled with a very simple question. What is the worst that is going to happen? I'll get it. I'll, like Varun took 7 days rest. I'll be confined to a room. So be it. You have to learn to deal with it. In terms of pure disasters, we all have, I hope nobody has, we have experienced disasters in our life. Sometimes you do never recover from them. Sometimes you have to allow the power of letting go to let it happen. So, what I want to say is that, Sonali, anxiety will come about, but the way to deal with anxiety is what we the first step is take a break. I ask a question: what's the worst that is going to happen? Right? We'll deal with that because bad things have happened in the past. We knew how to deal with it. This is yet another. So, this is what is important to consider, that extraordinary things happen, accidents happen all the time, right? For no reason at all. The other day, somebody just reversed the car and banged into my car. Now, what am I supposed to do now? Stop parking because somebody may hit into me? It's not going to happen. We fix the problem. Yes. That's how the whole thing is, that whenever something disastrous happens, you have to learn your own way to fix it, to deal with it. And there is nobody else better equipped to do that than you yourself. Because I'm not there to see it, Varun is not there to see it, Dr. Krishna is not there to see it. So when you have it, talk, call up somebody you know, share. That open conversation is essential here as well. So the important part is that we have to get ready to deal with the uncertainties. That's the important part. We have to be prepared to deal with uncertainty and eventuality that we never anticipate.
Correct.
That's important
Yeah.
to know about.
I like this question as well, Vibhuteji
Yeah.
and Varun. Um, Anxiety. I mean, how do you deal with anxiety? So there are 2 levels or 3 levels you can say you can work on anxiety. One is what Vibhuteji is talking about: work on your mind, change your lenses, change the outlook. and it is going to pass over, like many other anxiety have passed over. So that's working on the mind. And um, it's interesting when, if you see Gita, Krishna, the first few uh, slokas in second chapter is working on the mind. He says, look, I mean, why are you doing this? Napunsak jaisa tum kaam kar rahe ho. So he tells him, if you fight, you will become win and you will become king. If you die, you will be a martyr. I mean, those working on the mind, but then he moves on. And similarly, on the Relaxx app, there are a few things as well. But the second part is you can have some medication which might help you. And I'm sure those things work as well in relieving anxiety as on a temporary basis. But the third one, which I love to do, and I do it myself when there is anxiety or any consuming thought or consuming emotion that happens, which happens to all of us. Like Bhutiji says, it will be there. It's going to happen. It's like you have to learn to coexist with that thing. But it's the thing we have talked before, energy. So higher the energy, the more peaceful we become. It's just it happens. And I'm talking about inner energy, not the outer energy, which is manifest as ADHD. So we have several meditations, long meditations, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour meditation. And I used to think that those things don't help anxiety, at least in acute stage. But I have changed my mind now because it does work. So you go and just do the meditation and let the anxiety coexist. Just yeah, let it be on the side, like you are watching the anxiety on the side. And sometimes it may be 80-20 in the beginning, that 80% anxiety is consuming you, 20% you are doing meditation. Slowly and slowly, by the end of the meditation, the whole energy formula shifts and you become 80% like energy you start feeling. And the anxiety, even though it is there, the bite is gone. And you just feel a totally different um, you. And when you were saying raise the vibrations, vibrations is, uh, yeah, some people call it vibrations, but you, those are two different things. But yes, vibrations, it's interesting that you mentioned vibrations. And I have to mention this. We have a painter here. He used to be a big painter in New York and now has moved to Maine. And well, not a painter, but a sculptor. He brass sculpting, and people went and interviewed him. How did you do such wonderful, sculptures? And one of the things he mentioned that when he was doing all this, suddenly some energy came and took over, and these vibrations is the word he used. That these vibrations, and then he just kept it moving. The vibrations kept moving him, and in the end there was this sculpture. So yes, there is inner energy, inner vibrations, whatever word you use, but once you feel it, you know it's there. And then the anxiety somehow just goes on the side, it stays on the side, and you can handle it much better. You can see it from outside, the whole anxiety phenomena. um, so
If
that
I may, if I may step in here, because Krishnaji referred to chapter 2 and Bhagavad Gita, I would urge Padmaja ji and Sonali ji to read chapter 2, Shlok 3. And there is a Shlok 3 called, is refers to clavium, helplessness. Krishnaji talked about the Napunsakta. These are all symptoms of anxiety. Arjun was gripped in anxiety, which was reducing him to an non performing asset, Napunsakta. So when he expressed himself to Krishna, Krishna Bhagwan gave him the suggestion कि हे अर्जुन, तुम में ये नपुंसकता तुम्हें शोभा नहीं देती है. Now, I will share with you my personal experience, because there was a moment in time in my life when I thought I was gone, because there was a major deception, major deceit. I lost a lot of money, and I felt, okay, I'm done. This is the end of my life. Anxiety came about what will happen to the rest of the world when I'm gone. So the anxiety comes in, and then I reached out. There was a classic thing here. I reached out to my mentor, and he said something exactly Krishna like. Vibhuti, तुमसे ये उम्मीद नहीं थी. Go read chapter 2, slok 3, and then we talk. And when I read that, then I realized that, oh my God, I can't be this helpless. It's up to me to contest that. It's for me to arise. It's for me to attend to that. A very interesting input for you, Sonali ji, since you asked this question. Whenever you are suffering from anxiety, when you have a bout of anxiety, you have two examples. One is Arjun, who he dared to ask Krishna Bhagavan, what do I do? I'm feeling so desolate. And the second one is Vibhuti Jha. I felt through in a situation in my own life, and I asked somebody whose views mattered to me. So one of the things which I would suggest is talking about it, your anxiety, with someone you trust, someone's opinion that matters, someone's who can keep your confidentiality. It also creates a release. That also becomes a stress buster. So all of us have somebody who we trust, whose opinions matter to us, who we know that come hell, come high water, they are not going to deceive me. You have to have that trust, and then you have to talk about it. So anxiety is a manifestation within of arising out of fear, arising out of doubt, arising out of mistrust. All these things create that scenario, and that's what is important to be aware. Let's go to the second one. Is that first we talked about take a break. The second one was set a boundary. And this is setting a boundary is my favorite example. Krishna ji is aware of that. I always tell everybody, draw your own Lakshman Rekha. It's so important in life. It's so important in life with your wife, with your children, with your best friends. This is the line you are not going to cross in your dealings with me. And similarly, you draw your own line too. It works both ways. इस line के आगे मैं नहीं जाऊंगा. I will not go. The moment you draw the line, Anjali's question, how to stop insecurity, now you begin to address that. The insecurity comes because we have not defined the lines. And that's what is important to do that. So, set boundaries. Boundaries is in conduct, in behavior, and doing in all three aspects. I will not do this. Sometimes people may not trust you. That's okay. That's okay. Until the other person also is able to understand where you are operating from, then the equilibrium happens. And that is where you achieve what my favorite phrase is, that if you want to achieve a heightened, elevated equilibrium, then you have to change the game. And the changing of the game happens when you draw the line. Whether it's a football, basketball, everywhere there is a line drawn. Outside that line, you are out. The ball outside the line is out. The ball
Well, the
outside the
ball
line
outside the line is a sixer as well, Vibhuti.
is a. No, I was telling that. It's a grand slam too. It's a home run too. So it's a definition. It's a
I know.
definition. It's when the ball crosses the line, you are out, or it's a six. Very well pointed out. I like that because
Yeah.
that is how the game is. But you and I are tennis players. Ball outside the line is out.
So yeah, before Krishnaji, you add, I'm gonna kind of do a little bit of intermingling between the break and the boundary, right?
Okay.
Uh, Now, break, for example, we just talked about taking a break. Yeah, break could mean multiple things to multiple people, and I'm gonna bring that uh, uh, the ignorant people who are not that intellectual, I would say, or not that smart, who can connect all these simple pieces of the puzzle and एक अपना एक अलग image बना लेते हैं. uh, for me, a break would mean cutting myself off. For me, a break could be maybe engaging myself into something that I enjoy. That could also be a break for me. Like agar mujhe, if I love playing a piano, for me that is a break. I am disconnected from the other things which I was doing, and now I'm taking a break. Break to me could also mean I'm just sitting on my chair, and thinking, talking, nothing, blank, complete blank. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't work out well. You brought up one good point, and I'm really happy that you said that. हमारे साथ होता है. There are certain people. They could be your family, they could be your friends, or they could be completely a totally external out. वो कहते हैं ना, and a totally uh,
Anjan.
अनजान बिल्कुल इंसान हमारे लिए है वो. पर उसके साथ हम बैठ के we talk for like 5 minutes. You disconnect that call or you disconnect that kind of conversation and you come out and you're like, wow, this was it. I think this was what I wanted. So for us, break could mean multiple things, but when we try setting out certain boundaries, कई बार ये restriction आ जाती है यार. I really feel like I want to talk to this person, but पता नहीं, should I refrain, should I keep this thing to myself. He's my brother or he's my sister or he's my friend. पता नहीं ये चीज मुझे बात करनी की नहीं चाहिए कि नहीं चाहिए. What would be my limit. Drawing that boundary or setting that boundary sometimes is also adding to the stress. कि यार पता नहीं आज मैंने बोल दिया, and then we all learn from those mistakes. यार मैंने इसके साथ किया था, and shit, this what is what happened. I shared my personal stuff with this individual, thinking, considering I might be a little bit more relaxed, but now I'm more stressed. कि यार मैंने उसके साथ ये शेयर कर लिया अपना, या मैंने. So I think all these things, looking at all the different aspects, how do you think, from your experience, can one set a great boundary amongst for ourselves? Abhi, I had a smirk on my face when Vibhuti ji said, even with your spouse or with your wife, you said, I don't know about him or I don't know about anybody else, but me setting up any kind of limit with my wife, I'll get a whack. I have to be completely unbiased. I have to be very honest. I cannot even keep anything. Or sometimes what happens is the stress that I have. For example, Jesse Vibhuti again, he brings in all his personal experiences, and then my thing also starts kind of connecting. कई बार होता है, you buy certain stocks and you've goofed up, and now you're worried. Do I talk to my wife? Should I tell her that, what? I've lost $40,000. I've lost $20,000 in a stupid act that I did. But, or should I set up a limit, a boundary for myself? You know what? अभी चुप रहता हूँ बेटा, अगले वाले में recover कर लेंगे, and we'll cover up. Otherwise, there will be another additional stress. So keeping all these different aspects that I just talked about, it becomes very, very, very tricky for people to set those boundaries. How do I handle, or how do we all handle people who are not that, kind of smart to handle this limitation or issue?
So, Varunji, I mean, there's simple answers there. Um, One is Lakshman Rekha पूरे रामायण में एक ही बार खींची गई थी. So, if we start doing Lakshman Rekha each time, then, then it's not practical, right? I mean, so yes, Lakshman Rekha is needed sometimes. I mean, you do that, but there is flexibility needed and wisdom needed. And some of these questions, sometimes you cannot answer. Like जीसस ने बोला एक गाल पे थप्पड़ मारो तो दूसरा गाल उसको दे दो. And somebody said, what happens if he keeps repeating the thappad? So, and there is an answer. I mean, in 1000 गाली, कृष्ण के कहानी में है ना. By the way, I mean, there is something, and I just apologize to people and Vibhuti ji as well. When I talk about Krishna or Gita, sometimes I address him like Krishna rather than Krishna Bhagwan, Krishna ji. And my problem is that my whole understanding of Gita is from Arjun's point of view. So I kind of, hey Krishna, hey Madhava, hey Sakheti. So I don't add adjectives sometimes, and it's out of respect, but still, that's something that I just want to mention here so that people understand that where I'm coming from. But yes, I think some of these answers are that you cannot be rigid and cannot have Lakshman Rekha all the time.
Right. That's true.
Okay. I would say only one thing. Yes, you are right. Absolutely right. That there is Lakshman Rekha drawn was only once, but it was drawn in with reference to a relationship. देवर और भाभी का relationship में था. Theme was protection, because his brother had told him not to leave her alone, and she was accusing him of varieties of things out of her own fear and concern about the welfare of her husband. So much so that, if my memory is correct, Sita even accused him of false intent on Lakshman. So it came at a very extreme moment. It was a defining moment. So, Ram Raj, we all talk about Ram Raj all the time, but Ram Raj happened only once. Doesn't mean it's not valid or it's not relevant. So Lakshman Rekha is a relational thing, is an example of a conduct and a behavior. It's not that you have to draw a line every time you walk, everybody you meet. No, but you asked me about your wife scenario. It's a very simple thing actually. Not everything that we do is 100% right, right?
Yep.
Not 100% right. So start a conversation. I do that. That's why I'm able to draw these things. I do that. What is it about what I say or do that you don't like at all? Try that question. This is a very
My wife
honest
would say
question.
everything. My
Yeah,
wife would say
yeah,
everything.
yes, everything. Yeah, it happens. But that's where the beauty of the opposite poles attract happens, right?
Exactly. Right.
So I do that. For example, I'll give you an example. Like, for example, I ask somebody, what is it that I do that you don't like about what I do? And he said a few things. I said, oh my God, I didn't even realize that I was doing
I
it.
was doing it. Yep. Absolutely.
And conversely, that I also ask, can I tell you what I don't like what you do? So the important part here is not tu meme, but coming to an understanding that yes, I will make every single effort to make sure that I will not repeat that. That's a difference between saying sorry and apologizing. Sorry is in the moment you bumped into something, you say sorry, you move out. When you apologize, apology means a very simple, powerful thing, is that I'll make sure that I will never do it again. That's the difference between saying sorry and saying offering an apology. So Lakshman Rekha, I definitely agree. You can't be drawing Lakshman Rekha with everybody. But where that relationship is important, then you say, if there is something that I do that you don't like, let me know. Then only I will prevent, because it may be just an attitudinal thing with me. That's the way I am.
Right.
Like Krishnaji said in right in the beginning, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of a stress is good. In economics, they say that a moderate inflation of 1 to 2% is good for the economy. But it becomes 7%, 10%, then it hurts. That's what we have to remember.
Right.
That, the definition of poison is that anything in excess, confidence in excess becomes arrogance. Love in excess becomes possessiveness, right? That's what we have to be conscious about the line, because sometimes things we do involuntarily, because that's the way I am. That's the way a crocodile is. That's the way a tiger is. That's the way a hyena is. That's the way a bird is. Hyena can't fly. There is no need for a line to be drawn there between hyena and the vulture, right? वो
Right.
अलग-अलग जा रहा है अपना. So this is what is important. And
Very, very well said and very well put across as well. Now, going to the next one that you have on the list through the app, which is getting out again. I just want to highlight certain things to people. This particular session is just not about we even though we started off on that COVID stress, but we have to think beyond the COVID as well. So get out in the nature doesn't mean कि COVID है तो आप बाहर ना जाओ, बात मत करो, like we all do in the backyard. People who are not fortunate enough to have a backyard, they can just walk out in and around their community and all that stuff. But I think one of the best stress busters that I have, at least now I've realized, is just go out and think nothing. Computer ke samne baithoge, eventually you'll sit here, like I'll give you again my example. If I sit here for 2 minutes, yes, I can sit here for 2 minutes. Uske baad mere haath chalne shuru ho jayenge. Okay, let me turn on, let me see YouTube, let me check this. The the risk of getting involved into something else is higher when I'm sitting on my desk. But when I'm out in the nature, I think it is less. But I love to hear your inputs. Why you brought get out into the nature as one of the tips for your even through your app as well.
So, Varunji, one of the questions there was, how do you stop negative thoughts? And there is a relationship into what you are saying, what the third point is, and how do you stop negative thought? I think the best thing to do with negative thoughts is not try to stop it. And what you are
That's
saying is switch to something else. And getting out in nature, and somehow you feel different. You switched from one thing to another thing, which gives you inspirations, it gives you energy. Like, you remember once we talked about uh, Guru Nanak saying, Dharti Dhawal Akash, Suniya Dharti Dhawal Akash. That's what he's saying, that we go out and listen to the trees, get inspired by the trees, get inspired by nature. And all these things, water, mountain, nature, trees, they're there to give you energy. And one of the meditation that you might have heard is Tratak meditation. And we talk about that in the app as well, which is you kind of stare at a candle or at another person or at a front looking photo or evening sun or morning sun when it's not harsh, and you just stare, and the idea is to gain energy through your eyes, inside. So it's a question of switching rather than trying to stop the negative thought, because that doesn't work, because thoughts sometimes can be so consuming that it can take control of your whole body, all the senses, all the indriyas. And mind kind of starts supporting that, starts, churning inside. But once you switch to something else, as you said, take a break means, you are doing something other than what you were doing before, makes a big difference. So I think walking in the nature, jogging in the nature, some people find jogging itself a great relief.
yeah,
Um, and one thing, like you said earlier, Varunji, and all these people, when you talk to, I mean, you said you just felt relaxed. You didn't bother, you just relaxed. That is a kind of meditation. That is kind of a practice that works for you. The same way somebody just goes running and that practice works for him. Somebody, yeah, I know somebody who does this, stands in the water, grounding, they call it. And grounding is a big thing now, that take your shoes off and just stand on grass or mud, bare feet. And you are now grounding, which is causing some electromagnetic change, positive change in your body. And then he just enjoys that part.
yeah, yeah.
So I think getting out in nature can be multiple things, but all these factors do affect, and work on us.
Yeah. And again, before I let Vibhuti say again, like I said, a lot of different things happen. हर एक का अपना तरीका होता है. Like last night, because of all the situations and everything, I myself was very much stressed out last night. And for me, kind of a meditation is cooking. So I will go in the kitchen, I'll find something, let's just make it. Energies flow in different direction. And by the end of it, like, again, I don't want to be picky tonight on my wife, otherwise I'll not get dinner. But for her, even cooking is like sometimes, or most of the times, a stressful activity. For me, it's the other way around. For me, it's like, I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna cook whatever I need to cook, and end of it, I know I'm gonna make a great dish. Not to boast about my culinary skills, but yes, I'm gonna make a good dish. But at the same time, I know by doing this, I have spent at least those 30-45 minutes of my time in the most important way I wanted to. And now I am a completely, the thoughts, the negative thoughts जो मेरे में थे, जो मैं सोच रहा था, they are vanished, because now I'm focused. Okay, मैंने टमाटर कितना डाला या मैंने प्याज कितना काटा and all that. So my thing, creative juices, kind of help me kind of focus to the right problem rather than the other issues. क्योंकि this is life. You already mentioned ke बिना stress के तो life हो ही नहीं सकती, and at the very beginning of this session, and it's sometimes very important to even have stress in life, but it's how you handle each of those stressful situations is also very important. uh, okay, now yeah, absolutely, Sonal. Varun, that is probably because you don't have to cook every day, and she probably has to cook every day. So whatever be the case, but yeah, you were saying something, please.
No, I was going to say to Sonal that, Sonalji, that there are so many things we all do every day. Doesn't have to become boring. Think
Yeah,
about it. It is all in the mind. How to make it exciting. It's all in the mind here. And that's where relax becomes important. How to give your mind a rest becomes so very critical for us because we have to do so many things. And this is something getting out in the nature is, like Krishnaji said, is to create a distraction. You cannot stop your mind from thinking. It will, the thoughts will keep coming, they will keep bursting into your mind. It will always happen. You cannot stop the mind from thinking. The only way to do is to distract it. Let it come, let it go, let it settle, because everything has to settle eventually somewhere. The moment you begin to react and get perturbed about it, then it makes a home in your body or mind. But if you let it go, it's like the bullet. If you have three ways to deal with the somebody firing a bullet at you. Take the bullet, bear the impact, or just duck it, and the bullet goes past. The entire energy went past you, nothing happened. That's another way to deal with that scenario. That it is very, very critical for us to remember to make a definite defined effort to break away from it all. Going into nature is one such thing. Nature doesn't mean that you go and find a jungle to go into. No. Going into nature is driving off. If you have no other option, just drive off for 50 miles or 60 miles or 100 miles. Stop at a Dunkin' Donuts, take a coffee, and come back. That's enough. You got distracted. That particular issue is no longer bothering you in the same way that it was when you were sitting at home and when it attacked you. So getting out into the nature is very important. Like touching the feet with ground. I mean, I remember I belong to Bihar, just as Krishnaji does. There were many a times where we were told कि पाँव को जमीन से छूने दो, घास पे जाने दो, पानी से भीगने दो, एक कांटेक्ट होता है अर्थ से. After all, we what do we call earth? Mother earth. स्पर्श होना चाहिए, टच होना चाहिए. And these days, we seldom touch earth. Think about it from that point of view. It's so very important to bear in mind. That's why swimming is important. You go into the pool, you're barefoot, and you go into the water. There is an immediate different kind of a sensation that comes into you. It is a very, very things which we are talking about. They seem very simple. It's always doing it is tougher. And that's the message which we want to share with you is that everything that you will hear today or anytime, you will 99% of the time, intuitively, intrinsically, intelligently, you probably know about it, but you don't do it. What we are trying to tell you is that there is a solution, and solution is all up to you, within you, and about you. You have to take that step.
True, true. Very, very well said. I'm getting an example in my mind. I still remember during my school days, my maths teacher, very strict teacher. I still remember how much beating I used to get, and not just me, all of us used to get because he was very, very strict. But he one day, was giving us all this gyan about how to handle certain things, because for few of the students, maths was always like the tough nut to crack. ये कहाँ से formulas याद करें, क्या करें, and all. He used to tell his own example that whenever he used to get in any kind of stress situation, personal, कोई भी किसी भी reason से, he had a old broken kind of a radio, very old. His grandfather gave it to him, And whenever he was in that stress mode, his stress buster was to somehow sit down with all his, tam jam and everything on the table, try to fix that radio. He said it's been, what, 20 years, the radio is not working, but at least during those hours that I spend with it, figuring out क्या हुआ है क्या नहीं, मैं भूल जाता हूँ कि मैं क्या कर रहा था और मैं आगे क्या करूंगा, और उस रेडियो का वही हालत है, it's not changed a bit. एक एक सिंगल चीज भी नहीं, बट एटलीस्ट माई स्ट्रेस गोज अवे. सो फाइंड योर ओन एक्सक्यूज, चाहे वो चीज फिगर आउट होती है, वर्कआउट होती है, नहीं होती है, डजेंट रियली मैटर. It's all about disconnecting from the problem point to another solution point. And I somehow better mujhe, I kind of remembered that conversation. I could visualize my maths teacher right now, the way he was telling us in the class. But that again takes us to, also the next one which you have on the list, which is it eventually becomes more like meditation. Like I mentioned about my cooking thing, right? For me, that is meditation. I don't have to sit down on a chair and कोई मंत्र पढ़ना या कुछ इस तरह का नहीं. But for me, if I am chopping those tomatoes or those onions, for me that's meditation. For somebody else, could be something else. I know people who love to swim. For them, that's meditation. They get stressed, they just hit the swimming pool. Then there are people who hit the tennis court. Then there are people who jog. Everybody has their own kind of ways and means of getting into that meditation zone. So love to have more inputs from your perspective. Why and how do you list that as one of the tips as well?
So, on the same note, Varunji, I'll add one thing, talking about wife. My wife loves gardening, and I could see her. She goes, sits down in the mud, dirt, and, looks at her tomatoes and waters them. I have no interest. So, here you are, but I could see her, she's in a different world when she goes there,
Right.
stress or no stress. So, you're right. I mean, many such things will take you there, but that is meditation. But what are we talking about when we talk about our fourth tip, which is meditation? And um, I think we have added yoga in that, and somehow yoga and meditation has been bonded together for many years. And I say, I was talking today somewhere with somebody today that what is happening? What is the overall change in our world? And these things have been there. People have had stress, people have had anxiety. And how has the world evolved to a point where we are? Like when before, there was this, people were anxious and anxiety and all that. And then the religions came. And I'm not talking about the religion or Sanatan Dharma that India had, but other countries, other parts of the world. Religions came and religion brought hope to them. And they brought confidence, God will do this and God will do that. And even now that's helpful, but somehow the belief or the system is not the same. I mean, the younger people are questioning many of the things, including Santa. So that happened. Then came the psychiatry and psychologists, the mental health, and it looked like they had all the answers. But now, even psychiatrists and psychologists, if you talk to them seriously, they feel that the drugs or medicines can solve some problem temporarily, but they are not solving the deeper problem. Then yoga came, and yoga did a lot of work, but yoga by itself uh, goes so far. But even Patanjali, he takes the Ashtanga yoga. His last one is Samadhi. So ultimately, meditation comes into picture, and now mindfulness and meditation. So mindfulness has come to surface, and Calm and Headspace and Relaxx and many other apps are now mushrooming. And I think it's a time when the deeper meditations like what we have on Relaxx can make a difference, because if you can have a gaming industry around, because of the app, it has moved to houses and kids and everything. Why can't we have good things also go and help people in many ways that we want to. So that is what, the history, at least I'm trying to link that to meditation. And yes, there are many things we do that are meditative, that give us that good feel. But is there something more? Is there something deeper? Is there some more? Um, when I talk about energy, I don't just talk about it. You feel the energy. You can see, like when you have goosebumps, that's real. So that siren or that, vibrations, as Sonal was pointing out, that is real. And it's a question of, are you ready to experience that? Are you ready to take it as an adventure rather than just calming your mind? So this one is more of taking you to a different level rather than just making you peaceful. Yes, peace is a byproduct of meditation. But if you just want peace, that's, like asking too little from something that can offer you a lot.
वरुण जी कितना टाइम है 10 बज गए हैं
हाँ जी,
हमारे ईस्टर्न कोस्ट के तो but then
right.
the two important things are the yoga meditation and you know
Yes.
come to terms with yourself. But important part here is in my spend time with yourself is yoga meditation and spending time with yourself. The last item is basically rediscover yourself. That's the most important lesson from my suggestion that I will share with all of you is this brings you to your own self. And there is nothing more important in the world to you than you being you, successful, happy, and in a state of mind where you can help others or be in a company that you create, that you are contributing to happiness. So, yoga meditation is driving you to discover yourself. That's a time when we begin to realize somebody is good in art, somebody is good in music, somebody is a urologist, somebody is a cardiologist, somebody is a podiatrist. These are all occupations. But in those chosen vocations, when you excel, like you in your case, the occasional cooking that you seemingly do, you are lost. Ever tried doing it more often? It's something like that. And one of the most ingredients elements of cooking is an ingredient called love. When you add that, food tastes better. It's a running joke in my family. My wife will, I'm the chaiwala in the house. I make the morning tea and the evening tea.
Okay.
And my wife always says, what do you do with that? And I said, I just added love in it. And it's a joke in my family. Everybody says, dad's love in this. Whenever dad does something, there is love in it. So my point here is you discover yourself in it. Unless and until you are discovering yourself, you can't achieve fulfillment. That's another element. If you are not fulfilled and satisfied with yourself, you can't spread happiness around you then. If you are always stressed, if you are always brooding and you are always trying to be what you are not, but you always excel at something that you are good at, once you discover that, then you are happy. Then you are able to deal with things around you. Then you are doing things that you love to do. Then you are not doing things that you don't want to do. Is think like saying no, that I don't want to do something, is nothing wrong in it. To bear in mind, majority of the stress also comes to us also because we have not been able to distinguish when to say no. In our work, we say that if you do not know how to say no, your yes has no meaning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what is important for us. I would say that the time is up today.
I know, I know. I remember this before we end this. I remember the conversation. I think it was the first or the second conversation that you and I had,
Right.
and this was one of the things that you highlighted for me, and it has from that day definitely made a lot of difference. Where you really sometimes just need to be yourself, and you need to know when to say no to
Right.
for a no. But absolutely, I mean, these different stress busters or these tips that you shared, I'm just gonna quickly highlight and one more time kind of summarize. Taking a break, setting some kind of boundaries for yourself, getting out in the nature, do some kind of yoga or meditation, and most importantly, of course, spending time on your own. I think you follow these, and as I can see in the chat as well, now people are saying, sports, music, cooking, of course, happens to be, and you've given your personal experiences as well, examples as well. To summarize it or to end it, maybe Krishnaji, maybe I'll go with you first. Overall, looking at how the things have been in the last couple of years, especially in the last couple of years due to COVIDs and whatnot, what would be your kind of guiding principle to everyone? Of course, I would also encourage people to go to the Relaxx app and test it for yourself and actually get those stress busters and everything from the app itself. But from your perspective, आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे सबको?
So
How to
when
handle this?
I like Vibhutiji says, discover yourself. And by that discovery, you know which is your swadharma or which is yourself, interest, and creates the best you. And that is the ultimate goal is, the best you. I mean, whether you call it enlightenment or whatever, for you, whatever that is, the best you manifests in the world. And I think that's what our listeners should think about today, that yes, the stress is there, all those things will be there, they're not going to go away. Osho used to say a thing that I want to share in the end, is like, if you have an accident, you can take as an opportunity, you will probably never have another accident. So become totally aware, totally mindful at the time. Register every move of the car, every move of your body. So can we take COVID as an opportunity and learn from it and try to be the best in toughest situations? I think that will be my thinking.
All right. And to end it, Vibhuti please go ahead.
I would say only one thing is that thank you, Krishnaji, for complimenting me on my suggestion. Think about it like this: Relaxx app was launched in 2021 to attend to the needs of people using our own intellect and knowledge and wisdom, that this was done to benefit everybody else. And also, from our point of view, a very clear effort towards our own self actualization, कि हमने कुछ किया या हम कुछ कर रहे हैं जिससे शायद लोगों को कुछ रिलीफ मिले, फायदा हो, स्ट्रेस जाए, रीडिस्कवर हो. So these are all elements that happen in a disastrous moment, in a time which was absolutely ugly. So that's what I'm trying to say to you, is that in Harry Potter, um, there is a very profound statement by Professor Dumbledore when Harry asks, "Why me?" And he says, exact dialogue I don't remember, but तात्पर्य वही है उसका. Meaning is that life will come to you. What you do with it is your choice.
Yeah.
That's what we say. And this particular app that exists here, it has music, there is element of art, there is element of nature, talking to birds, how birds bring calm to you. There is a playlist. Try the playlist. I did it. We have recently launched the playlist. I listened to each one of them. And you may like some, you may not like some. There's nothing wrong in it. But rediscover yourself from with each one of these, because there is somebody who likes it. Think about it from the other perspective.
Absolutely.
So with this, I will say happy kickoff to 2022. It
Yes.
will be better than 2021. And the sooner you rediscover yourself, things happen.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you, both of you. And thanks for everyone for joining. We'll see you guys next Tuesday with another key element. And till then, take care, be safe, and please take COVID and follow all the guidelines. It's not fun. But on that note, thank you so much. Take
Thank
care.
you.
God
Thank
bless
you. Good night. Good night. Thank you. Enjoy your dinner.
you. Yes, I will. Thank you.